Time to talk about my hometown team, the Sydney Thunder. We also have the Sixers here, obviously very much a dominant squad over the years, but with the beginning of this Big Bash and the rounds that they have doubles, it can be very difficult to actually put a bunch of these guys in our squads. The Sixers have a double in that first game, but then they do not have one for the rest of the season. So in a world where you're looking to have as many doubles as possible at certain different times, so maybe at the start, with the Renegades or the Stars, that they have a couple of doubles in the first 3 rounds, 3 doubles in the first 5 for the Stars. The Sixers don't have that, and you can fill up your team with a lot of other guys from the Sydney Sixers to kick things from other teams other than the Sydney Sixers to kick things off for this tournament, and not have to trade them out for the first bunch of weeks. Whereas the Sixers, it's going to be very hard to hold them after that first round throughout the entirety of the season. The Thunder, they have a double in round 4, so they become a little bit more of an interesting team from there. So it could be with the Sixers and the Thunder, you may have one from each team. In the Thunder, it might be a TNV Sanger, it could be a Matt Jilks, something like that, a little bit of a cheaper price that you can have in your squad as someone who's going to be playing all of those first 3 rounds. And then they have a double in the round 4, which is going to be pretty cool as well. So that's something to look at with the Thunder. And then the Sixers, do you load up with guys like Tom Curran to kick things off? Do you go for a Sean Abbott or Ben DeWash, these types of guys who score really, really well, but then potentially you have to move them on fairly early on? These are a couple of questions that we will answer in the start of this video. So let's go to the Sydney Sixers now. And we do have, obviously, our batters up top in Vince, Philippi, Enriques. They're going to be the clear sort of top 3. We know Jordan Silk is going to be in that middle order. Not sure what's going to happen with guys like Dan Hughes and obviously Curtis Patterson at this time. And do they use some all-rounders in guys like Joel Davies and potentially Jack Edwards as well, who has had a pretty tough time in his Sixers career so far? Does he bounce back? I know a lot of other podcasters at the moment are talking him up, obviously with a better start to his Shield season and the one-day season as well, the Marsh Cup there. So he's definitely someone of interest for sure at a cheaper price. But again, you might likely using these guys for that first round. But would you even play those cheaper guys when we can put a lot of our money into guns to play the double or the triple in that first couple of weeks? So now fast bowlers is the next one. As we said, Tom Curran in there being able to bowl 4 overs, especially at the death there, is going to be super important. That the same of Sean Abbott, who continues to just take wickets upon wickets. And then you have the mixture of the other guys in DeWash and obviously then Hayden Kerr as that all-rounder type that's been scoring a lot of runs, taking some wickets as well. And then you've got Jackson Bird as well. So it's going to be hard to actually fit all of them in. You could definitely use Hayden Kerr somewhere through the middle or potentially at the beginning of the innings, which would help out with their bowlers overall, obviously. But it's going to be hard to fit all of those guys in. To then have guys like Murphy, Stephen O'Keefe, and then Rian Ahmed is going to miss some time at the start of the season. So it's still a fairly balanced side. I think the middle of the order, obviously losing Dan Christian is going to be crucial, and that's where someone like Jack Edwards could fill that spot. But otherwise, it's going to be fairly difficult in general to get things right in that middle order, I think, for the Sixers, and it could be where they start to drop off. But with Tom Curran returning, that could just be solved straight with him there in that one. So let's look at their squad in the app there to see what we can work out. So Philippi's an interesting one, obviously fairly underpriced given his lack of scoring last year and what he's done in previous years. Him and Darcy Short, him and Ben McDermott there are 3 guys that have all played much better than what they did last season. So they all come with a fair bit of value. Is it worth picking up someone like Josh Philippi, who's only going to play the double in the first game? And are you going to be starting with him in your side? That's a question you need to answer yourself. And this is a little bit of a look at my side as to where it's at now. And then TNV Sanger slots into that spot there on the bench, which I've chucked him out of there for this video here. So pretty interesting how I've played this out. Obviously lots of Heat, Renegades and Stars is where a lot of this comes from. Richardson will straight swap to Matt Short into the next round there. So Philippi, is he worth it? I definitely think there's some value there, but I personally am going to go McDermott over Philippi, a little bit cheaper, and he's going to help me with the double game later on. If I hold him for the entirety of the season in round 7, he'll help me for that one there, whereas Philippi doesn't help me any further than just a week-to-week prospect. With the bat there, Steve Smith comes in the game at 267k. Wow, had 123 average last year. He's going to play that first game, which would be pretty exciting, but he's not someone you want to pop in your squad, I don't think, playing only one game. Tom Curran averaged well into the 60s and 70s in his previous efforts in the Big Bash. So he's definitely someone that is of value to anyone here you guys are looking at. So he's going to be a cool one to plug in for sure. But again, he doesn't have any more doubles after that first game. So you're picking him likely for that first couple of games, the first round, to then trade him out following that. Maybe it's in round 2 or potentially in a later round. Up to you on that one. But I personally wouldn't be holding him for too long if you are grabbing him. Hayden Kerr was solid last year. Does he improve on that? I think he had a really good season. I'm going to find it very difficult for him to get into the 50s as an average, personally, especially when you have a Tom Curran in here who's probably going to take a little bit of a few of his overs and potentially some batting time away from him. From there, you've got Reen Ahmed, obviously the all-rounder. He's going to miss some time. We won't spend too much time on him. Guys, and pretty much anyone else here other than guys that have a clear amount of value, like a potential Jack Edwards, potentially a Joel Davies. These types of guys are players you might want to look at in this one here. Really, that's the big news here, is that unless they're going to provide you with clear cash generation, they're probably a team that you don't want to be heavily involved in. That's for sure. We move to the bowlers now. And what you see with them is obviously some of the top performers in Abbott, Dwarshuis. We spoke about Tom Curran, and we know what Steve O'Keefe can do as well. So those 4 guys especially, they have an incredible bowling lineup. All guys that score really well and take lots of wickets in there, even adding in Jackson Bird on top of that. So they all deserve a spot in this side, but how many overs are there to go around? That's going to be the tough one there. And does that mean that, you know, there's a couple overs here and there for guys like Hayden Kerr? Probably how it's going to look to be able to fit enough of these guys in, unfortunately, for the Sixers in that one there. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a tough one with them, as I said, just playing the double in that first one there. We move on to the Thunder, and they're going to be a pretty interesting team just because they do have a couple of doubles throughout the year. They have one in the last round. They have one in round 4 as well. So someone like Matt Gilkes is slightly an interesting player, given he's 101k there. What you're looking at with him is a potential to increase in value and get some good scores. So he's actually had a pretty solid start to the season. He's another one of those young guns that are going to be improving year in, year out. And 101k, a little bit of an awkward price, but definitely has room to grow. And with them, you know, not having a buy for a little while to start the season, obviously nothing until after their double. He's an interesting guy to have in and plug in for that round. Whether you start with him or you grab him in round 4 is up to you on that one there. You're obviously going to be needing to target guys up towards round 4, and I just don't see anyone other than sort of Tanvi Sangha or potentially Gilkes as a guy that you can start with to begin this season. So I'd be avoiding all them to start with personally, and some guys you'll be looking to be targeting would be guys like Daniel Sams, obviously in that one there. I think Ollie Davies is due for a big season. He got another 80 not out, in today's or yesterday's game in the Sheffield Shield. So he's definitely on the improve in that middle order. I think he'll bat fairly high in this team. Bancroft misses the first game with the PM11, so that's something to look at. Obviously, the guys that are going to bat up top, and I think Ollie will be fairly close to the top of that order, and he definitely has an opportunity to grow on his price from the beginning of the season here and really be an important factor in rounds like round 4. And then obviously in the last round as well, where we're going to be getting as many Thunder players as possible, basically there. Anyone else from there? Obviously guys like Sangha, it'd be nice for him to have a bounce back. He potentially, definitely could at this point, but where he's going to bat is going to be the question. Is he going to be like a 3 or is he going to sit around that 5? And it's not worth it down there for sure. I don't even think it's worth it if he does bat 3 at this point, just with their schedule for sure. On the bowling side, we spoke about Samsey. Nathan McAndrew is another guy to potentially look at as someone who's really dominating in this season. He's come out really, really hot. Someone like Liam Hatcher and Gurinder Sandhu can also do jobs at certain points. And then Zaman Khan, if he happens to get, comes in and has a couple of decent games, and picking him up in round 4 is going to be pretty cool as well. So definitely look at Zaman in that one there. So they're the 2 teams there, the Sixers and the Thunder, both not super exciting teams to be looking at, to be honest, to start the season. The Thunder will definitely have their moments across the season in round 4 and in round 9 where they're going to be super important. But up until then, it's going to be one of those, a couple of those teams that's like, oh, do you start with them just because you like the players and you might be a Sixers fan, a Thunder fan, and a lot of their players score really well. Like we spoke about those Sixers guys, especially the bowlers. it's wild how well they actually go each and every season, and the team does in general. So there's a mixture between sort of playing the fixture here, playing the doubles, playing the triple in the first round with the Heat, and and mixing in guys that you think are going to score well in the games that they are playing one. So definitely look at that. Potentially 1 Sixer, 1 Thunder is the max that I'd be looking at in that first couple of games, whether that is Philippi for you, whether that is a guy like Tom Curran, a Sean Abbott, something like that, or a Tanvir Sanger, a Jilks, these types of guys that we mentioned. I don't think it's worth going up top to the McAndrews, to the Sams and stuff. He's obviously missing the first one, McAndrew, with the PM11. But very, very interesting teams, and I hope that helps you in your quest to start the season off for Big Bash really, really well. Good luck, guys.